We're in for a treat today because it is my joy to be able to introduce our guest speaker, the Reverend Diane Davis, Reverend, medium, healer, and an amazing teacher. I have taken classes, natural law and others with her, and have always walked away a much better person. On top of all that, I think she's funny. Let's introduce the Reverend Diane Davis.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm sure that you're just like me, that this last week has been perfectly calm, easy, no pressure. Is that right? Holy cow. I'm not supposed to talk like that up here, am I? What I wanted to talk to you today about was happy comes because nothing's perfect. I laid in bed last night, kind of ready to chew my nails, and then I decided they looked nice, so I'll leave them alone. But for 3 or 4 days now, I have been searching myself for a topic for today. I've listened and read some inspirational things, and somehow that didn't do it either. And then over the years, I've talked about leaf blowers, I've talked about kitchen drawers, I've talked about cowbirds, and some of you wonder, did we get to the right place? Is this the service that we should be at? So today I'm going to talk about happy comes because nothing's perfect. And in the past, I have also spelled the word happy for you just in case any of you forgot it. Today I'm going to be doing just that. And so the reason I chose this was because our lives are being very pressured. And the pressure to me is constant, and the pressure to me doesn't let up. Now, I was the one that I opened a PayPal account, and in one interaction on PayPal, I gave the woman my password by mistake because I'm so computer literate. And so now the security at PayPal has gotten in touch with me and has blocked my account because I can't clear it up and clear the blockage because I don't have a cell phone that texts. Now, all of you who have offered your cell phones just now, don't worry, you can't do that. It has to be in my name. So after much to do about that, I went to Georgia where some very dear friends of mine created a website for me. And I think it looks absolutely wonderful, but then again, it's mine. And it's new, so I had it for one day. Yeah. No. I have promised myself that I don't want to get in and edit it because I'm afraid I'll delete it by mistake. So those of you who don't know that I'm a typewriter refugee held hostage, I am. And so happy comes because nothing's perfect. Remember this. It's an important consideration for all of us. Happy is spelled Happy for those of you who might have forgotten overnight or during the week or because of stresses. We learn to meditate, we learn to get calm, and then the bills come or the illness happens or situations occur and they test us and they pressure us, and oh boy, right? Okay, well, maybe not in your life, but in mine big time. And so H to me in happy is for hope. Because all of us need hope. We need it in our country right now. We need it in our society. We need it in the world. We need it in finances. We need it in all aspects of life. And the reason I say we need it is because the majority of the time that I watch a commercial on TV, it's telling me why I shouldn't use that product. So what is the message that we're getting here in society quite often? And then we become suspicious of each other, and someone looks at you funny, and that becomes a threat. Really? And I can look funny without even trying. And people think I'm sneering when I'm smiling. So what do? Walk around with my hands over my face? So what happens, and I mean this very sincerely, what happens to your hope every day or during the times of great trial, great challenge? Because we all have them. And yours are no less than mine, and mine are no less than yours. They all are our own individual situations and occurrences. Right now, my greatest challenge is I have to stand still. And I want to move and walk around. And Lewis has said I have to be on picture. So when energy gets moving, it gets moving, doesn't it? Okay, well that was that. Okay, hope. So how do you have the hope? How do you keep the hope? And hope isn't based on yesterday. Hope is based on possibility of what's ahead. Hope isn't about who you've been. It's about who you are and where you're going and what you're doing with you now. And hope isn't based upon all the trials, tribulations, and difficulties you've had. There's a word that has come into my vocabulary because a dear friend uses it all the time to describe woundology. I don't like that word because it always implies that I got something stuck on me or stuck in me. And so all of us have wounds, all of us have scars, all of us have had challenges, all of us have had needs, all of us have had experiences that we've encountered in our lives that challenged us to the nth degree. And if you haven't, did you eat chocolate cake? What did you do in order to keep yourself from that? Because the majority of the people that I know have faced odds of some sort, whether it be in their health, whether it be in their jobs, whether it be a challenge financially in their home, with their families, with their friends, in a relationship, with a car, with a house. You can name off all of these places in our lives that can produce a stress. So what do you do with yours? What do you do when you've lost hope? What do you do when it goes away? A lot of times meditation is really wonderful for securing us in a time period of quiet. And that's a beauty. But beyond that, we still have to pay the bills and we still have to do things. Just even going to the grocery store right now, to me, sometimes is traumatic. And I mean that very sincerely. Because either the aisles are way down there, and you've got to scan everywhere to find what you want. Or, and ours right down here on Orange Camp, which is public, so I'll give them a little bit of PR, is the fact that I enjoy Publix, but I go to the one down on the Deltona exit because it's easier to get in and get out. And so all of these little things, and it's not just because I got gray hair. I got gray hair. It started coming in and it's starting to get white, and then I'm losing some, and I'm going to be really cute with a bald spot right here. You think? There's hope in this. There's hope somewhere. My great-grandmother had pure white hair that was buoyant and beautiful until she was 94. There's hope. Maybe. So, what I'm getting at and talking about hope is, that's the H in happy. And if you're going to be happy about anything, you're going to see that there's hope and potential. No matter what bruises you experience, no matter what calamity occurs, there's always hope beyond it. And that's the beauty of us. That's the nature of the human capability. We have three ways that the mind reacts and responds, and the first one is defensiveness and protectiveness, and all of us do it like that. The second one is consistency, where we look for things to be consistent. And then the third way is exploration and discovery. And some of you are here today because there's something you're exploring, something you're discovering, something within you that is wanting more out of life. And that doesn't mean that you knew I was going to be up here, but I'll pay you later for coming. But sometimes there is this wonderful place, and it's the place of creativity in each of us. And that's the place in hope. And what happens to you for happy? When you want to feel happier, or maybe life circumstances aren't so great, joy. But one thing the soul of you knows is two emotions only, and that's boredom and that's joy. And boredom, it's going to sound a little extreme, but that can even be with a health concern or a pain physically. You can get bored with it after a while. Doesn't mean it goes away because you thought of it differently. But what happens is the part of you that starts to explore another way to experience it, or another thing that you can do to perhaps ease it. And the same thing with you emotionally in anything in your life. The A is for acceptance, where we allow ourselves to accept what is. Doesn't mean we give up. A lot of people, when they hear it is what it is, they think that's a fatalistic statement, and that means it's going to be this way. Maybe balding, but there's all kinds of potential. Acceptance of what is allowing it in our lives, tolerating it. Do you realize how many people that you don't accept? You're going to tell me that you accept everybody, aren't you? No. I got news. But acceptance is within each of us to accept who we are as we are today, not who we were years past, not when we did this, that, and the other thing. I mean, I wore a younger woman's clothing then. Really? And you know, the incredible thing about accepting who we are at this time right now is it's a starting point, because it is what it is. It's a jump off point for you to move forward into anything in your life, anything that you want to pursue and do, anything. Now, I haven't taken up bungee jumping. And there are certain ramifications of that I don't know if my bones could handle. But it's not out of the question. You see it? Acceptance is. And when if you hope things and you have an acceptance of what is, then you have a starting point. And then comes the P and the P. And to me, it's passionate participation. So when I drove home from Georgia last week, because we went up and back in 2 days, it was kind of quick. However, did I mention that I got a website? Yes. Anyway. So we drove back and we went into Jacksonville to see somebody, a friend. And I'd never been to this home. And a very casual thing, and it was mid-afternoon, and we hadn't had lunch, and so we invited them to come with us to lunch. And on the phone, as we were driving in, they said, "No, we've made a tuna casserole. Why don't you come on in here and we'll just sit and chat?" So we got there, and they'd made a tuna casserole in a crock pot.
No.
And it had egg noodles. And it had cream of mushroom soup, albacore tuna, and peas. I ate it with passion. And you know why? Because I don't cook like that much for myself anymore. And you know what? I sat there and took 2 bites of it, and I thought of my mother. My mother couldn't cook very well either, and so she was great. She was great with Campbell's mushroom soup. They went on chicken, it went on fish, it went on anything. But tuna casserole, your passionate participation in anything. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be a little thing. And it's your participation with it that makes it happen as it will. Your life isn't based upon who you were 5 years ago. It isn't even based on who you were 5 minutes ago. It's based upon who you are and what you're going to do next. Don't get up and leave yet. I'm not done. So, passionate participation. You can separate it out and you can say, what do you have a passion for? And a lot of the time in people's lives, they don't have it. That's understandable many times. It can be for all kinds of reasons. I end up counseling a lot of people who are having grief. And not just grief of a loved one who's passed on or an animal that is no longer with them in their home. Grief can be about a loss of a job. It can be about, you can experience it just about anything. But when it touches our lives in any way, it takes away something. And it does not always replace it easily unless we take steps to discover more. Remember discovery? So passionate participation is, we got home on Sunday, Monday. I didn't really want to try to cook then either. We had leftover tuna casserole. Anyway, so participation is to participate with what you're doing when you're doing it. How many of you, you don't have to raise your hands, but how many of you do things that you feel obligated towards and you feel like it's a must do, but your heart isn't in it? You know the phrase, my heart isn't in it, or my heart wasn't in it, or I didn't really want to do it, but that's a good one. And so participation is being with the thing in the moment. And it's not always an easy task for any of us. And sometimes it takes a lot of oomph. But what I encourage you all to do is, if you don't feel that oomph in something that you feel is yours to do and that you ultimately want to accomplish, is reevaluate your focus of your purpose. Because quite often, if you reevaluate your purpose, it'll get done. And it will get done with more happening than you ever dreamed. Because happy comes, because nothing's perfect. Years ago, I had to put together a little bitty type of workstation for a word processor. I told you about the typewriter refugee thing. Well, anyway, so I had to put this together, and there were a whole bunch of nuts, bolts, and screws that I had to assemble. Anyway, and there were things that I didn't even know what they were, but they had holes in them, and you did this and this, and I didn't know what those were, and I sat on the floor in my apartment over on Seneca when I lived there years ago, and I was crying because there was nobody helping me with a screwdriver in their back pocket, and I was feeling very sad for a lot of reasons, and you know that. I can do this. And so I remember it because it was a dramatic moment when I sat there and all of a sudden said, I'm not dumb. I looked at the directions again, you know, the ones that are written in Swahili. I looked at the directions, or the directions, and of assembling it, and I sat there, and I finally just looked at it, and I went, okay. And a whole change just happened. You know this, you've had this. When your little thought and your focus changes just a smidgen, and all of a sudden you recognize a movement. And I did, and I put it all together, and there was one faulty screw. I found it, and it wasn't my fault. It was a screw. It was faulty. And I put it together and had it for many years till computers came along and said, oh no, you can't have this now. And so what happens with happy is you've got hope and you've got acceptance of what is. And I'm not even watching the clock. I guess I should be. And you've got passion and you've got participation in anything, at any moment, at any time in your life. And the why is you. You. Because so many times in our lives we do things perfunctorily. It's a wonderful word. And the fact that we do them out of obligation, we do them because we should, we do them because people expect it, we do this, we do that. When I step up here and people say she's going to be humorous, I immediately try to do my, I can do a Lily Tomlin routine, and I can do Barbra Streisand, and I can do Carol Burnett, to a point, not as well. And then I think, well, that's not what they're asking for. They're asking for a place within themselves to feel for a moment a release and relief from society, from clamoring